Hey, it's a great honor to have with us former Democratic Senator Gary Hart of Colorado. He's out with a new book titled The American Republic Can Save American Democracy. Senator, thank you so much for being with us. Obviously, so many people concerned right now about how we continue this extraordinary American experiment that we began so long ago. Why don't you tell us what you consider to be the greatest challenge to that ongoing struggle, and where you conclude the answer lies on how we move forward successfully?
Well, as you and your program have emphasized almost every day for quite a long time, the danger of undermining the integrity of the ballot and the ability of the American people to trust the outcome of elections. If those seeking to undermine the credibility of the electoral system in America succeed, then the democracy is in great trouble. And I've paid a lot of attention, as you have, and your guests, to the critique of the attacks on democracy and where they're coming from. But there is not a very much suggestion of solutions. And when I wrote this small book, long essay, what I tried to offer was a built-in way to counter these, what I would consider to be destructive and evil forces. And they are right here before us because we salute the flag of the United States and the republic for which it stands. So it occurred to me rather late in life, if we are a democracy, why are we saluting the flag of a republic? And what is a republic? And that led me back to studying early American history. And as you know, when you do that, all the founders, virtually all of them, knew the classics from Rome and Athens and the languages and the concepts. And they knew, and there was a struggle within the founders as to whether we were a democracy or a republic. And it was Jefferson who resolved it by saying, we are a democratic republic.
So you did what Tom Ricks also did. He said the night after the 2016 election, he started going back, looking at the classics, and he came up with some ideas on what he thought, what wisdom we needed to look to in the past. I'm curious, what for this democratic republic that was formed by our founders, what are some of the answers that you discovered going back and studying their political philosophies, studying the foundation of this country, the formation of this country?
Well, the reason why so many of the founders insisted that we perpetuate the themes of the republic and what we would call today a small r republicanism, because those are therapeutic for the problems we face. For example, the early founders of republics in ancient Rome and beyond believed in popular sovereignty. That is to say, no magistrate, no king, no powerful individual, man or woman, was going to hold the power of the republic. It belonged to the people. And therefore, the three most dramatic words of our Constitution are the first three: we the people. They didn't say, I, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams and so forth. They said, we the people. Second, they believed in a commonwealth. That is to say, that we the owners of the republic, own things in common. We could go on and on. Our defense systems, our transportation systems, our public education, public health, and all those things that some people persist in wanting to privatize, even though that's destructive of the Commonwealth. But that's very, very important to what unites us. They also believed in civic virtue. Now, we don't use that language anymore, but what you and I would mean by that is participation. You owe it to your country and your children to participate in all levels of government, not necessarily elected, but just show up at town meetings, county commissions, all kinds of public gatherings, political events, ask questions of those seeking your vote, and insisting that those who seek your vote and your support conform with what you believe is in the best interest of our nation. So we could spend a lot more time than we do in our education system preaching and teaching civic virtue, but it simply means paying attention, participating, asking questions, attending meetings, turning the TV off one night a month and going to some public event that is of importance to your community. You and I both know that that list goes on. There was a final quality of republics beginning in ancient Rome, and that was resistance to corruption. And they defined corruption as putting special interests ahead of the common good. So the common good being the Commonwealth. Well, if you apply that definition to our current government, then we've got problems, because a lot of the distrust of Washington is the revolving doors and the lobbying system where lots of money are involved. That's what the ancients and our founders called corruption. So that, in very compressed ways, is the definition of a republic. And it was on that foundation that democratic principles, the integrity of the ballot, free speech, the First Amendment, of all the Bill of Rights, those are the democracy. But what I've outlined is what is the foundation of a republic.
So you talk about a period that you grew up in, a period that I actually sort of came in sort of the tail end of, the post-war era, when conversations about common good, conversations about civic duty were actually, they were defining features not only of our political system, but of our educational system. I always talk on the show, though I was a Republican, though I was a small government conservative, I always talk about the almost fetishness of this individual rights, the extremes that has been taken to, and how that has undermined common good of the United States, how that has undermined civic virtues in the United States, and how that's undermined our democratic republic. Talk about that as you do in the book.
Well, this may have happened to you in your education system. I attended public schools in a small town of Ottawa, Kansas in the 40s and 50s. And my favorite course was one called civics. I don't think it's taught anywhere anymore, but it is the Constitution, our political systems, how government works, what's wrong when it doesn't work, all the basics of citizenship. And it's that part that has been left out and left behind. We have focused so much, and my own party, the Democratic Party, is responsible for part of this, focused on our rights. And when was the last time any politician reminded you or anyone else of our duties? So if I were to encapsulate democracy and the republic, I would simply say, if we wish to protect our rights, we must perform our duties. And it is in the framework of the republic where citizen duties are to be found. So that's how the two mesh. We protect the democracy by promoting the basic values of the republic.
All right, the new book is The American Republic Can Save American Democracy, a vital message from an incredibly important voice in the American debate over the past half century. Former Senator Gary Hart, it's always an honor to have you with us. Thank you so much for being with us today.
It's great to talk to you again, Joe.